You know the feeling. It's 2 a.m., your phone is glaring in your eyes, and you're lying awake thinking about everything you couldn't do today. This struggle is the result of a biological mismatch between your environment and your brain's evolutionary wiring. Most of us try to solve this by gritting our teeth and attempting to force motivation. Relying purely on willpower to drag yourself through a textbook actively trains your brain to resent the work even more. There is a better way to operate. Making 6 specific psychological shifts allows you to ethically manipulate your own dopamine system so you crave the exact tasks you are currently avoiding. While it seems like everyone else is effortlessly locking in, your attention span is currently reacting to its chemical environment. Releasing the guilt attached to that reaction is the first step toward changing it. Focus is a matter of chemistry. Look at this equation. True motivation is the combination of dopamine, which provides the anticipation of a reward, and norepinephrine, which supplies sustained attention. Balance those inputs, and the output is focused action. When that chemical exchange is unequal, when there's no clear reward or the effort required spikes too high, your brain physically rejects the task. We casually label that rejection laziness. Your brain rejects tasks that lack a measurable progress bar. This makes the struggle to focus a design problem that requires a structural solution. When you sit down to work, you usually hit a wall. Overwhelm, boredom, and distraction function as deeply ingrained biological defense mechanisms designed to conserve your energy. Take overwhelm. Your brain is wired to conserve resources, so it naturally recoils from massive, unstructured threats like study for the final exam or read chapter 5. You bypass this by artificially shrinking the threat. Instead of sitting down to read sturdy pages, you give yourself permission to read exactly 1 paragraph. Completing that microscopic task triggers a dopamine release by registering a victory. That tiny win provides the initial spark of momentum required to actually start working. Then there's boredom. The feeling of being bored while studying is driven entirely by an absence of immediate feedback. We fix this with a dopamine funnel. Notice how the study task acts as a mandatory gateway, bonded directly to a small reward. Over repeated cycles, your brain bonds the activities together. Because dopamine is triggered by anticipation, you eventually crave the gateway task itself. By hacking that sense of anticipation, the act of studying becomes your biological entry ticket to pleasure, overriding your brain's default resistance to effort. But that momentum is fragile. Picking up your phone during a study break floods your brain with high stimulation content, which instantly destroys your focus. The fix is strict time boxing. If you do 25 minutes of deep work followed by a 5-minute break, those 5 minutes are reserved for low dopamine activities like walking, stretching, or getting water. Keeping your baseline stimulation low prevents a dopamine crash. When you sit back down at your desk, the study materials still feel chemically rewarding by comparison. Once you're back in the zone, you can accelerate the process through active learning. Think of this as a deliberate dopamine trigger. Passive reading puts your brain to sleep. Actions like self-testing or explaining a concept out loud to an imaginary audience force a level of engagement that creates dopamine spikes tied directly to the exertion of effort. Carefully managing your stimulation during breaks and amplifying your active effort during work periods rewires your neural pathways. Your brain learns to find deep satisfaction in the challenge itself. These neurochemical manipulations rely on a quiet, non-negotiable physical foundation: adequate sleep, hydration, and morning sunlight. Running on 4 hours of sleep and caffeine keeps your cognitive capacities stuck on dial-up. Nailing those physiological basics gives you the processing power required to actually retain information. Repeatedly triggering these chemical states builds neural pathways that eventually make focus the brain's default setting. This biological foundation allows for the ultimate shift, adopting the permanent identity of someone who takes learning seriously. Habits that align with this internal self-image become permanent because the brain no longer needs to expend energy on forced discipline. You cement this identity by building a study ritual. By consistently returning to the exact same physical environment with the same lighting and setup, you automatically signal your brain to enter a focus state. As you stack these small wins day after day, the exhausting struggle for motivation fades. In its place, you build a steady momentum rooted in calm self-respect. Focus evolves into a daily upgrade ritual. It is a quiet process of leveling up that earns the pride of your future self.